Hello. So for problem 30, they tell us that cosine of b is 3 over 8. Then it wants us to find the other 5 trigonometric functions. So cosine of b is 3 over 8. Cosine of this angle is 3 over 8. 3, so cosine is your adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, so if cosine of b is 3 over 8, adjacent over hypotenuse, then we can use Pythagorean theorem to find the missing length. Okay, so we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So that a squared is equal to 64 minus 9. That's 75. So that a is equal to 75 is 25 times 3. 25 is a perfect square. So this is going to be 5 radical 3. Okay. So sine of b is opposite over hypotenuse. Tangent is sine over cosine. And then these are the inverses of these three. So this is going to be when you rationalize the denominator, you multiply this by radical 3 over radical 3. Okay. Secant is the inverse of cosine. Cotangent is the inverse of tangent. And this will give us okay. When you rationalize the denominator, you're going to multiply this by radical 3 over radical 3, and then the 3 simplify out. Let me expand this. Math is not a race. Do not go fast through this. Okay, radical 3 times radical 3 is 3. 3 times 5 is 15. But 3 over 15 simplifies. Okay. Well, that was so much fun. Let's do it again. Number 32, we have sine of theta is 7 over 25. Here is our generic right triangle. There's your theta. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Use Pythagorean theorem to find the missing leg. So we have nice, no radicals. Okay. Cosine is 24 over 25. Tangent is sine over cosine. And then these are the reciprocals. Okay. All right. Tangent is your y over your x, your sine over your cosine. The opposite over adjacent. So if that's the angle A given, we need the opposite over adjacent. And then to find the hypotenuse, we can use the Pythagorean theorem. So we have if I want to call this my side length of C. Pythagorean theorem says whatever this length is, you're going to square it. Plus, whatever length this is, you're going to square it, is equal to whatever length this is, you're going to square it. Okay. FOIL these out. We have okay. Negative 4 radical 3 plus 4 radical 3 gives you 0. So I have 4 plus 3, which is 7, plus 7, I have 14 equals C squared. This tells us that C is equal to radical 14. Yeah. Okay. So that sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. Let's rationalize that denominator. The only factors of 14 are 2 and 7. Those are prime numbers, and 3 is a prime number. So this product cannot be further simplified under the radical. And when you're multiplying radicands with the same indices, you're going to when you're multiplying radicals with the same indices, you're going to multiply the radicands, meaning these are both square roots, so the index matches. So just multiply what's underneath the radical bar. 14 times 3, that's 42. And that's about all you can do with the sine. Okay. Cosecant of A is going to be the inverse This is getting to be a complicated problem. I want to expand my work. I don't want to confuse anybody, so I'm going to pull all of this down some. So cosine of A is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. Rationalize the denominator. And again, 42 is 2 times 3 times 7. 42 cannot be simplified any further. I'm sorry, radical 42 cannot be simplified any further. And the denominator, radical 14 times radical 14 is plain old 14. Tangent was given to us. Okay. So then I'm going to go for the cosecant of A. So cosecant of A is going to be the hypotenuse over the opposite. We have the hypotenuse over the opposite, 2 minus radical 3. So for this, we're going to multiply this by the conjugate. And so if we have, which is going to give us the difference of squares. So if we have A minus B, we're going to go with an A plus B over A plus B. Again, the same non-zero number divided by itself is equal to 1. So when you multiply by 1, you're not changing anything. What this will give you is that looks familiar. And then the denominator, you're going to square the first term, you're going to square the second term, and then subtract them. That's the difference of squares. Okay, 4 minus 3 is 1. So that is cosecant of A. Okay, then we need secant of A. Secant of A is going to be your hypotenuse over the adjacent side. The adjacent is 2 plus radical 3. And again, we're going to multiply this by the conjugate. Square the first term, square the second term, and negate the 2. Okay, and then we're going to need the cotangent. Cotangent is the inverse of tangent. I guess we should rationalize this denominator. It just looks tacky with the radical in the denominator. So I'll do that in a minute. So it's going to be 2 plus over 2 minus. Multiply this by the conjugate. And then we're going to square the first term, square the second term, and subtract the 2. You have a 1 in the denominator, doesn't change anything. So this numerator is going to be 4 radical 3 plus 7. And that was so much fun. Let's make the tangent proper. So tangent is the inverse of cotangent. Okay, multiply this by the conjugate. Square the first term, square the second term, and then it's 2 times the product of A times B. The denominator, square the first term, square the second term, subtract the 2. 4 minus 3 is 1. And here I want to put the 7 in front because it just looks better, I think. Otherwise, you'll have a negative 4/3 plus 7. All right. Thank you very much. Please go to tutoring.